Vishan from USJ 4x4. So today is pretty interesting. I have in-house Land Cruiser Shorty. So a short wheelbase LC2, I'm calling here in Malaysia, codename LJ70. What's interesting about this is it's been a while since we built short wheelbase vehicle, and the owner who came to see us, he had already, he's seen us a lot, doing a lot of work on social media, like he's seen the work that we do. He had the car maybe for about a month or two. Shukri is the owner's name, and awesome guy. So when he came to me, he sort of knew what he wanted, but of course they would normally start with the exterior and the interior, paint and interior, and I told him, that's not how we do things here. So any build that we do has to start from the bottom. Only then we'll work our way to getting the aesthetics done. And I'm very grateful that he was on board with that. He definitely appreciated the idea. Him being an engineer himself, so it was a lot easier to speak to. And then the thing is, when he got the car, he had another offer that showed up, and he thought that maybe he missed out on a better deal after that. But to be honest with you, as I go through this video, you'll realize that he actually made a very, very good buy. This was one of the best condition short wheelbase LC2s that I have seen in a long time, and it was relatively kept stock standard. The thing is, so when I say bottom end build, what do we do is mainly suspension, the bearings, the seals, the bushes, everything bottom end is replaced new. Even the brakes are calipers are rebuilt, and things like the brake hoses, I think I mentioned brake hoses. So all that is done, and then even the axles, they're grinded down. The axle housing itself is grinded down, enamel coated, so it's a chassis. We dry ice blast everything bottom. And then for the gearbox and engine, so what we do is we look at the situation. If it's leaking very badly, we let the owner know. In this case, it wasn't. It was just the input-output shaft seals from the transfer case, so that wasn't a big deal. And also the ATF sump was leaking, but it didn't matter because we were changing the ATF filter as well. So anyhow, we had to drop the pan. And then for the engine part, it was more of a top end leak where there's valve cover leak and all that. So for me, I tend to not take apart things, especially in the sense of the engine part, if there's no need to. So we don't do rebuilds for the engines unless we really see an issue. And this being a 2LTE, mated to a automatic transmission, it actually felt really good. And the previous owner had already put it on 33s. The current owner changed new tires, and he wanted to keep it that height. So if you see, like when I'm panning around with the video, you notice that the rear cores already changed to pedders. So what we were doing is we were experimenting with height, because being the full 4-door and the 2-door, the part numbers are the same, but of course the spring rates are going to be different for front and rear if you try to level out the car. And hence why it took a bit of experimentation to get the right set for this vehicle. So suspension wise, we're running full pedders bottom end, and the bushes are either between a mix of pedders and Super Pro. To me, they are the same, but don't tell that to anyone, because the part numbers are also the same. Packaging looks very similar as well, so normally we interchange them depending what's in stock. Brakes, we went with pedders as well. So this car is a front and rear disc brake, and the calipers we are rebuilding back. So when I initially went on a test drive with the owner, the one thing that was really bad, that was very prominent, was the brakes, and I felt that wasn't safe to drive it anymore. So I told him to take it back and try to not drive it, because it was something that was quite dangerous. And true enough, luckily he did, because there was also a brake fluid leak, besides the other things that were leaking. But in overall context, why I say this was one of the best specimens, honestly, rust was next to none. Like, after we dry ice blast, like whatever surface things you see it's nothing. And then to add to that, the oils the previous owner actually really maintained. So diff fluid, transfer case, rear axle oil were all maintained. They were all relatively new. But it didn't matter, because we were going to rebuild the diffs. Like, we're not changing ratios, but we're doing the carrier bearings, the pinion bearings, all that we're still doing. So all in all, kudos to the previous owner. He really maintained it really, really well, and I think that car never saw dirt, because so the drum brake assembly, not the drum brake hand, the parking brake. So it's a drum brake still. Normally, it's quite hard to clean inside there because, of course, if you go in wheeling or something, that's where mud will get in, and it's the hardest part to get out. So when we took things apart, that was clean. So with that being said, that's why I said this was one of the cleanest overall LC2 that I've ever seen, and I think it's one of the perfect base, because the owner obviously wants to keep the car for a long time, and this is such a good base to start with. I don't think you can find anything in much nicer condition with this mileage. I think it did have a relatively high mileage, not that high as well. I mean, 100 over 1,000 kilometers done on it, or maybe more, but I have to check and see. Either way, so this is going to be a two-part video. One is like, this is just how the prep work with all the things that we do, the disassembly and the dry ice blasting. The next stage would be where we actually already have everything painted, the bushes all changed, the bearings all replaced, the calipers all built and ready to go back into the car, and then you guys get to see the overall final look on how the car is, how the Land Cruiser Shorty, the LC2 Shorty is. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be an awesome car to drive even daily, because it's convenient, it's a good package size, and then eventually we'll move towards looking at other things. But for now, we're addressing all this. Probably next on will be the electrical side of things. So with that being said, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.